What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back, and as always, thank you for joining me. My name's Paul Brettel. Today, we're here to discuss a variety of Green Bay Packers topics. Since the game ended on Sunday, I've knocked out a bunch of articles over at Packers Wire, so I want to talk about a handful of them here with you guys today. But first, as always, hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel, and you can find all my work over at Packers Wire. So let's start with Jordan Love attacking the middle of the field. He finished the game on Sunday 9 of 14 for 132 yards with 2 touchdowns. This is such an important element of the Matt LaFleur offense. And it feels like a lot of times we can look to the San Francisco 49ers because, as we know, that's where the LaFleur offense stems from, the Kyle Shanahan system, and see what the Niners are doing and what the trickle-down effect may be here in Green Bay. Dusty Evely of Packer Report crunched these numbers, but from 2019 through 2022, former 49ers cornerback Jimmy Garoppolo led the NFL in usage rate over the middle of the field. Nearly 60% of his passes during that time frame went there. Last season, Brock Purdy takes over at quarterback. Again, same idea. Nearly 60% of his passes went to the middle of the field as well. Conversely, Aaron Rodgers during that time frame, we have not seen. That's attacking the middle of the field is not something that, he liked to do. He preferred to throw to the boundaries. And during that same time frame, 2019 to 2022, out of 67 eligible quarterbacks, Rodgers ranked 65th in terms of usage rate over the middle of the field. So again, not something we've seen a lot of from this Packers offense because of what Rodgers preferred, but it is a big aspect of it. And it's not as if Love got out there on Sunday and started throwing to the middle of the field, and that was the first time. He's been doing this all summer. Go back to off-season programs in May, OTAs, minicamp. Love has been throwing often to the middle of the field. And a big reason that it's a core element of the Fleur offense is because it gets guys in space. It gives them big play potential. You're getting, especially with all the speed that the Packers have at receiver, at tight end, you're getting them the ball on the move in space with yards after the catch opportunity. And over the middle of the field, there's the opportunity for mismatches to take place as well. We saw it on the Aaron Jones touchdown, the 35-yard touchdown on Sunday. Out of the backfield, ran an angle route. He's matched up with a linebacker. You're always going to like Aaron Jones against a linebacker. There's space in the middle of the field for him to get the ball, and then just a ton of open room for him to run and end up taking it for the score. So, that's the what you hope to see from it. That's when everything comes together. On the flip side, and something to be mindful of is, throwing to the middle of the field, there is a higher turnover potential. And in part, that's why Aaron Rodgers didn't like throwing to that part, because he was so, averse to turnovers. But one of the aspects of Love's body of work that he's put together, throughout offseason programs, training camp, and up to now, is his ability to take care of the ball for a first-time starter. He struck a really, really good balance of knowing when should I try to fit it into a tight window, when should I try to push the ball on downfield, and when I should just take what the defense gives me, go through my progressions, and take the check down if needed. And that ability to maintain that is going to be crucial because, again, they're going to continue to use the middle of the field. That's such a key element of this offense. But it's a recipe for success for this offense if Love can take care of the ball, if the speed that the Packers have, and if they can continue to throw to the middle of the field, which they will. So I was very impressed with that element of it. And again, we've seen it all summer, so it was just fantastic to see it come together on Sunday during the Packers' first regular season game. Sticking with Jordan Love, third downs. He and the Green Bay Packers were absolutely dominant. The Packers were 9 of 16 on third downs. And for some context, I believe that's a conversion rate of 56%. The Buffalo Bills led the NFL in 2022 in third down success rate, with 50% of their conversions being successful. Love specifically on third and fourth downs, he was 8 for 10 for 141 yards with 2 touchdowns. Just absolutely dominant performance when, in key situations, when it mattered most. Those are the money downs. And as we look back at, how especially in the second half, how the Packers dominated the performance, how the game ended up being a blowout, the discrepancy in third down success was a huge reason why. Again, Packers were 9 of 16. Bears on the flip side were 3 for 13. And of course, credit to Love for that performance, but also credit to the offensive line. They did an excellent job of protecting him, giving him the time that he needed to go through his progressions. I know after the game, Love said that there were a few throws where went through his entire progression and still had the ball, but still had time in the pocket as well. So really, really good performance by the offensive line. We'll have more on them in a second. And then also as well, the Packers' ability on early downs to put Love in position to take advantage of those third down situations. Obviously it becomes a lot more difficult to consistently and convert 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10s. But when you can stay ahead of the sticks, be in 3rd and short situations, when there's the threat of the run game in those scenarios, it opens up the entire playbook for the offense, makes more guesswork for the defense, has them on their heels a little bit in terms of trying to decipher what's going to take place. So excellent performance from Love in the Packers offense. And again, those other factors were key contributors in that success as well. Darnell Savage, absolutely flying around the football field. Finished the game with a team-high 10 tackles, and also very important, Pro Football Focus didn't credit him with any misses, and as we know, missed tackles have been an issue at times for Darnell Savage throughout his career. But numbers aside, I think what the most promising part of it was just his play style, his mentality. There was a physicality to it, that we saw the speed with him flying around and aggressiveness to it. I believe 3 for sure, and maybe even 4 of those 10 tackles came at or behind the line of scrimmage. And that was the version of Darnell Savage that we saw in 2019, 2020. And as the game was unfolding, I thought back to offseason programs when we're speaking with the position coaches, and safeties coach Ryan Downard is talking about Savage. And, he says when Savage is at his best, he's pulling the trigger, he's playing downhill, he's trusting what he sees. And it 100% felt like that's the version of Darnell Savage we saw it out on the field on Sunday. And Matt LaFleur said on Monday that Savage played a complete game. And, this season is obviously going to be so important for him. He's in a contract here, first off, but I can't envision a scenario where we get to the end of the year and look back and go, and if we go, oh, the safety group actually played pretty well, that doesn't involve Darnell Savage having a good year. Like, it's a must for that position group and for this defense. And last season, there was just too many missed tackles, miscommunications on the back end, coverage breakdowns that led to just massive inconsistency from this position group. And oftentimes, Savage was at the middle of it, which is why he was benched at one point. And by Savage's own admission, he wants to make plays. But when he's not making plays, he said frustration can set in. And as we saw last season in some of those coverage breakdowns, it can lead to, him trying to force things, him trying to almost do too much, which leads to him voiding his responsibility and then a big play for the offense. So if Savage wants to make those plays, and of course we all want to see him do that as well, it starts with just the down-to-down consistency, which Joe Barry has talked about on a few occasions. So for Savage and just the safety position in general, that's the communication on the back end pre-snap, something that Matt LaFleur said he did an excellent job of over the summer and in week 1 against the Bears. It's with being a reliable tackler, willing to take on blocks, fill gaps. It's an important responsibility that safeties, have to do in this Joe Barry defense. And it also it's just doing your job, executing what the defensive play call is, and not trying to do more than what you need to in the given situation, because then that means something's being forgotten about. So those are 3 core elements. Of course, there's more, but my point is, if Savage can do those things consistently from day to day, from down to down, he's going to then be in position to make the plays. And ultimately, that's what he wants. That's what the defense wants. That's what the defense needs. But a really, really encouraging performance from Darnell Savage. Again, numbers aside, just the play style that we saw from him. And next step for him is to build upon that and make that performance the norm and not just the outlier. Next up, the interior defensive line. They ran a ton of stunts. We talked to Kenny Clark last Monday before the Bears game, and he said that they're going to have a different game plan this year. Of course, he didn't specify what that was, but man, we saw it on Sunday. A ton of stunts. Dari Carragher of Packer Report, again, crunch the numbers on this. Packers utilized stunts on 28 of their defensive snaps. I believe the Bears had 70 total offensive plays. So on about 37% of the Packers defensive snaps, they were running some sort of stunt. And For some context, again, they ran 28 on Sunday. Their average per game in 2022 was 7. So just a massive shift in terms of play style and what they were asking their defensive front to do. And we saw the results of it. That obviously those stunts played a key role in their ability to help slow the run game. Bears running backs averaged under 4 yards per rush. PFF credited the Packers with a whopping 36 pressures. Justin Fields was pressured on over 50% of his dropbacks on Sunday. So just a dominant performance from the Green Bay Packers defensive front. And, the fact that they ran stunts really wasn't all that surprising. Again, go back, watch the preseason games, the training camp practices. They were utilizing those then, but I think the shocking part of it was just the sheer frequency at which they were doing it. Again, going from averaging 7 a year ago to 28 in just one game. And in part, they have the ability to do that with the personnel that they now have. I'm sure many of you watched or listened to the Play Callers podcast presented by The Athletic over the summer. It was centered around the offensive side of the ball, specifically Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel. But in one of the episodes, Brandon Staley, the LA Chargers head coach, he had a little segment on there talking about the defensive side. And the reason this is relevant to the Packers is Staley coached under Vic Fangio. Barry coached under Staley, with Staley, and we all know that Barry was brought to Green Bay. Matt LaFleur wanted him to run a version of the Vic Fangio defense. And when Brandon Staley was talking about the defensive front specifically, he talked about some key elements that his system, Joe Barry's system, has to have. One of it is speed. To be able to run stunts, twists, post-snap movement, but also to be able to shoot gaps, to penetrate gaps. The other aspect of it is versatility. Guys who can, play different spots along the defensive line to give the offensive line multiple looks. It's the same principal idea as it is on offense. You want versatility on offense again, so to create mismatches, to keep defenses off balance, guessing about what's coming. Same idea on the defensive side of the ball. And over the last 2 seasons, we've seen the Packers shift from a personnel standpoint, 2 players who can do those things. The addition of Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, Kobe Wooden. Wooden and Brooks played up and down the line, including edge rusher in college. Devontae Wyatt can play inside out. We know Kenny Clark can. There's just a lot of speed within that unit, and that ability to run those stunts, to shoot gaps. It's different than some of the past personnel that the Packers have had. We look at the Dean Lowrys, the Tyler Lancasters, who are more space occupiers, space eaters, in that defensive front. It's a different philosophy, a different mindset, a different play style that the Packers have. And we saw them take advantage of that on Sunday. And maybe they're not going to run 28 stunts every week, but I do expect that to be a key part of this defense moving forward. So, which is, of course, excellent to see. It's just an overall different mindset shift from this unit, a bit more aggressive, a bit more of doing the dictating rather than just having your guys say, all right, rush from point A to point B. Not that you can't be effective in that way, but in terms of guesswork for the offensive linemen, there really isn't any at that point. They know what's coming. So excellent performance from up front. Speaking up front, just want to highlight Rashan Gary because his numbers are absolutely wild. He was used, as we all know, on a pitch count. He was on the field during obvious passing situations. I think it was either all of them or most of them was basically 3rd and longs where he can just go get after the quarterback. So he's on the field for 12 snaps. 10 of them ended up as pass rush snaps. And according to Matt LaFleur, by the Packers numbers, Gary had 7 pressures. 7 pressures on 10 pass rush snaps. That's a win rate of 70%. Again, for some context, I believe the leader at edge rusher last season throughout the NFL was around or just under the 20% mark. So again, probably not sustainable, but just an absolute dominant performance. Somehow, coming off an ACL injury, first time back on the field or 9 or 10 months, Rashan Gary delivers that performance. Just incredibly impressive. I can't wait to see, him back at full capacity and the edge rusher group as a whole, the improved depth that this group has. I think all 5 of the active edge rushers played at least 20 snaps in that game. So the Packers have so much more depth than they did a season ago at this time. Versatility on offense. It's been something that's been on display since practice. I remember one of the early practices at training camp, just thinking that it feels like Matt LaFleur, from a personnel combination standpoint, mixing and matching of players, has endless potential in terms of the number of variety of players that he can put on the field at one time, because you have receivers who can play in the slot, who can play out wide, who can win downfield, who can win at all three levels, who can block if you need to. Tight ends can play inline in the slot. We're going to see Luke Musgrave on the boundary. Running backs out of the backfield in the slot. Aaron Jones will be out wide. Like, we have that many players who can take on that many roles. Again, the mixing and matching possibilities feel endless. And we saw that again on display against Chicago. Right out the gate, we saw 2 running back sets, 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, 3 receivers, 4 receivers out on the football field. Before we even got to halftime, 2 running backs, 3 tight ends, 5 receivers had all seen snaps on the football field. Ben Fennell, who does a terrific job covering film, go follow him on Twitter. He tweeted out that there wasn't a team in the NFL outside, who put more on tape from a personnel formation standpoint, from a run scheme standpoint, than what the Green Bay Packers did. They gave the Chicago Bears so many different looks within that game to digest. And again, goes back to just the versatility that they have. And it's really maximized when you add in the speed that this offense has as well. And there's, 2 points of emphasis I want to make with this. In the moment, so in the game, when you have that ability to mix and match, it helps Matt LaFleur accomplish what we hear him talk about often, the illusion of complexity, which in short is keeping defenses off balance and guessing. And you're accomplishing that by being able to run a variety of plays from just a few personnel packages. That helps create mismatches, gets guys in space, gives the defense different looks. It also, the illusion of complexity also has the offense running a lot of like plays. So plays that look similar in formation, may even start out similar, but could be completely different in how they end, whether it's a run, whether it's a pass. So again, if you're a defender and you see the same formation in quarter 2 as you do in quarter 4, from the Packers standpoint, those could be 2 completely different plays, again, even if they start out similar. And, that leaves a lot of guesswork for the defense. They're not able to determine pre-snap, all right, here's maybe a play or 2 that the Packers could be running. Here's maybe a responsibility that the guy I'm covering could have, because there's just so many different directions that the Packers can go. And so in the moment on the field, that's the advantage for Green Bay. But also as we look ahead to week 2 now against Atlanta, I asked Jordan Love about this, the versatility and just showing multiple looks. And he said from a film standpoint, future opponents, they have to look at a lot of tape now. They have to game plan for a lot of different scenarios and be ready for a wide variety of outcomes. The Falcons in this instance can't just key in on, all right, here's 1 or 2 things that we really know the Packers are going to do and emphasize, and let's try to take that away. They have to be prepared for so much more. And for a first-time starting quarterback, a young group of pass catchers, that's a big advantage for them, because one of the questions that this group is going to have to answer this season is how do they respond to adjustments? There is really no tape coming into week 1. So the Packers are putting things on film. Defenses are going to see what they like to do, what they don't like to do, try to take that away. But obviously that becomes a lot more challenging when there's just this buffet of play calls and personnel groupings that they have to sift through. So it's a really important part of the Matt LaFleur offense again, and we saw it on display against Chicago, and I imagine we're going to see a lot more of it moving forward. Lastly, the trenches. The Packers dominated the trenches against Chicago, offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. And when you have that ability to win at the line of scrimmage, like the Packers do, you're going to be in a lot of games. There's going to be inconsistencies at quarterback. There's going to be ups and downs with the pass catchers. But if you have the ability to control the line of scrimmage, you can oftentimes control the game. And having that element, having what should be one of the best offensive lines in football, having what very well could be, if they continue to play as they did on Sunday, one of the best defensive fronts in football, it's just going to make it really hard to blow out this Packers team. Like, they should be in a lot of games this season that'll give them the opportunity to win. Now, does that mean they're going to come through every time? Does that mean they're going to have a winning record? Of course not. But they'll have the opportunity to win games. I already mentioned on the defensive side of the ball, how they held the Bears to under 4 yards per rush, 36 pressures on Justin Fields, and just overall, this defense was flying around, playing fast, playing aggressive, which is excellent to see. On the offensive side of the ball, Jordan Love, as I mentioned on those third downs, had the time that he needed in the pocket to go through his progressions. Didn't feel like he had to force anything. And with the amount of speed that the Packers have on offense, like if Jordan Love is consistently having, that 2.5, 3.5 seconds to get rid of the football, that's a long time in football from a coverage standpoint for the defensive backs to be able to stay tight in coverage. If he consistently has that time, guys are going to come open. He's going to have, some open throwing lanes to get the ball to them. So just a really, really impressive performance all around by the offensive line, defensive line. If I can nitpick a little bit, the offensive line, they got to be better in the run game, especially on some of those toss plays. Way too many Bears players were running free into the backfield. We saw it was really tough going for A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones was able to find some success, but in part that's a product of he's Aaron Jones. His ability to find running lanes, to create opportunities for himself is so good. But overall, the offensive line, they got to be better against the run. As I've talked about on here, it's going to be such a crucial part of their success. This offense can't get into predictable passing situations. They don't want to put themselves in second and long, third and longs, where it becomes obvious that they're trying to throw the ball. So again, just week 1, but something to watch moving forward. But again, overall, Packers dominated the trenches against the Bears. And after the game, Matt LaFleur said that, again, that discrepancy in terms of their ability to protect Love, their ability to get after Fields in comparison to what the Bears were able to do in those aspects, was a big reason behind their ability to not only win, but win convincingly. So there you have it, my friends. It's our variety of topics from this week. Again, you can find all those in article version over at Packers Wire. Hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. And you can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So until next time, friends, take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack Go.